Hey, we're live, guys. We're live. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today my special guest is Mo from the Reseller Niche podcast. Man, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for coming by and hanging out with me today. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the people in the chat if they don't know who you are.
Sure. My name is Mo. I have a tiny little podcast called the Reseller Niche podcast. We're on YouTube and, wherever you get your podcasts from. So I'm just a regular reseller. I'm just happy to be here.
So, and Mo lives in California. You said right outside of Sacramento?
Yeah, right in the Sacramento area. I guess 100 miles north of the Bay Area. So if people don't know where Sacramento is, but yeah.
Yeah, you probably don't live too far from Derek, Fundamentals to Side Hustling. I know he lives in California, doesn't he?
Yeah, every time Derek goes somewhere, I know where I know kind of based on the streets where he's going. So
yeah, you should reach out to him. I think he lives in the same town you do. So But yeah, guys, if you get a chance to check out Mo's channel, it's funny. I was checking out his channel the other day. I think we ran into each other on Instagram, and I went and checked out your YouTube channel, and I was like, we hang out with the same people. I was like, I saw Leroy on your channel. I saw Lone Star Picker. So I was like, we hang out with the same group of people. So I was like, let's go hang out with Mo and catch up with him. So Mo, how was your Christmas, man? How did everything go for you?
It was good. I mean, we didn't go anywhere. I mean, like a lot of people, but we kind of did like the stay-in thing. Like the kids have been off because they were homeschooling, so they're at home. I've got two little ones. So like last night, for example, we kind of pulled all like mattresses downstairs in the living room, and we did kind of like a fake camping indoor thing because we can't really go camping. So that kind of thing. So we did a lot of that kind of at-home stuff, fun stuff, movies, popcorn, that kind of thing.
All right, cool. I wanted to say hi to Wendy in the chat hanging out with us. She says, hey, Jeff and Mo. So, Mo, go ahead and tell us your backstory. The people want to find out. We want to find out your backstory. How did you first get into reselling? How long have you been a reseller? And what was your life before you became a reseller? Because you're officially a full-time reseller at the moment, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. So I'll go back when I started probably in college. I'd say my eBay account goes back to like 98. I think my first one. This is like my third or fourth account. And then, so I went from selling tickets, mainly concert tickets, comedy tickets. And basically I didn't sell that for money before. I would buy 10 tickets just to pay for the 2 tickets I was using, or the 4 tickets. And me and my buddies would sell the rest. So then we go from there. That was probably, like I said, late 90s to early 2000s. After that, I went through college, and I was an IT major. So I worked at a few different companies, regular 9-to-5s, and I wasn't really reselling that much. I want to say from, I don't know, early 2000s for about like an 8-10 year period. I had eBay accounts, I had an Amazon account, but I didn't really resell. And then I went from there. I ran a shipping store for like 15 years. That's kind of how I fell back into reselling, because I saw these guys sending in boxes after box after box. This one guy was shipping tires or rims, I think. And he went from shipping like 1 rim a day to we would go there and pick up like, I want to say dozens of rims. He had his own private label. I don't know if it was a rim or something that went around the rim, something like that. So I was asking him, I said, where are these going to? I have no, what is this? What do you mean you send in? I can't wrap my brain around it. And this is probably late 2000s, like 08, 09, something like that. So then he said, no, I send them to Amazon. I have my own website, and I sell them on eBay too. So I'd heard of eBay. So I said, what do you mean you send them to Amazon? Again, I kept pressing him. He wasn't really talking. And so he wasn't much help, but I could see the labels. They were always going to different places. And then I could see the different addresses. They would go to certain addresses. You know how go to different Amazon warehouses. So from that, I kind of figured out, oh, okay, he's shipping these. He's making money off his own product. And I'm always the last one in the game. So this went on for years. I saw lots of other private resellers. I did, when we did shipping, we used to do, I guess, packaging for a lot of these guys too. Like early on, I would say 2010, 2013, I used to do a lot of private label packaging. And then I still wasn't really selling in Amazon. I was still on the shipping side only. So that's kind of how I fell into it. And then from 2013 onwards, then I'm like, I got to do this myself. So I got into eBay, got into Amazon, and then I started doing it more myself on the selling side as well as the shipping side.
Okay, Mo. I just wanted to say hi to Cali Reseller Louise is here in the chat hanging out with us. Wendy is here, and then we got the bearded veteran here hanging out with us. So Mo, tell me, what is your niche? Do you have a certain niche or certain items that you try to resell, or just anything you can get your hands on? Like if we went to a thrift store or yard sale, what area would you go check out first? Like do you like media, electronics? Like what's your area that you crush it in?
Well, I kind of do a little bit of everything. Mainly, I'd say 80% of my eBay stores use clothing, maybe 70% now. What I prefer to sell is vintage toys. I like older stuff. I like buying lots. I don't really buy those at thrift stores because you get, a figure here, a box here, a game there. So most of what I get from a thrift store would be used clothing. And I just try and buy in bulk. I try and buy as much in bulk as possible. Bulk is easier, especially these days going out, it's kind of crazy going out there. A lot of the stores, kind of limit the amount of people you can go in, at least in California they do. So time is a factor. Like I went to a thrift store yesterday, there was a line. It took me 20 minutes to get in the store, just regular thrift store, nothing fancy. So I'd say clothing, used vintage, board games, and toys. Those would be the three things I would say.
Yeah, it's the same down here in Florida. They limit, like if I just want to go into a thrift store or a pawn shop or just most anywhere, they make you wear a mask. Sometimes I try to go to a pawn shop. There's literally a line. You have to wait in line to get into the building. And then when you get in there, you may not even find nothing that you want, And
exactly.
then so I've been ordering a lot of items, merchandise online, buying stuff like I sell a lot of media, so I'll buy big lots of DVDs or Blu-rays or video games. I just got a big shipment in of CDs in yesterday, and so I paid 45 cents a piece for them, and they were new in the shrink wrap. So I'm thinking if I could sell them for at least $10 to $15 a piece, let's say $10 a piece times 400, I should be able to turn my $180 into $4,000. Not instantaneously overnight, but over a period of time. I wanted to say hi to Leroy in the chat. He's hanging out with us. He says you sell tools, and
Leroy is funny, man. Leroy is awesome. You need to check out his channel. I know he's only got 2 or 3 videos on it, but everybody knows Leroy. He's everybody's friend.
Yeah, Leroy's everywhere. Leroy, I think I saw you on Prisoner Profit's channel the other day. He did a premiere, and it was something about what can 2 resellers find, or with $6. So Leroy's everywhere. I see him all over the place. So thanks for coming by, Leroy. We appreciate you. So Mo, I gotta ask you this: is your wife, is your family, are they supportive of your reselling endeavors? Like, are they get mad at you? Like, how does that go? Like, I'm just curious.
Well, the way it works is my kids don't really care either which way. My wife is unbelievably organized and neat and tidy. So when she gets annoyed at me, it's because I'm not putting away inventory immediately. That's what it is. That's number one. So I don't know if you can see behind me, it's a mess. I do my best to, as soon as I get in, see, you can see all this behind me. These are all at the top here. They're empty boxes. At the bottom here is stuff I just listed that needs to go away. It's probably been sitting there 48 hours at least. That's the kind of stuff I get in trouble for. But I try and do my best to put stuff away. Inventory system in my garage, which is kind of overflowing. I made the mistake of listing more than putting it back into the inventory system, which is a good way to mess things up and to lose things. So I've been going back and forth the last, say, 2 days or so and fixing that a little bit because sales have kind of slowed a little bit. But I don't sell the types of items, like I'm not selling brand new toys or brand new whatevers. So my sales are generally consistent throughout the year. I have a spike, obviously, in Thanksgiving and like Christmas and stuff like that, but it's not ridiculous. Like most of the new stuff I have, I send to FBA if I can. But like on eBay, it's generally vintage stuff. So my wife's very supportive. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing this, to be honest. Like even when we bought this house, we did it. Like when I get cleaned up, I'm going to show everybody the garage. I've been talking about this for 3 months now, but like we got the storage facility, not a storage facility. I come from like a warehouse background. I used to have everything here it wouldn't be here. I would have it in my shop. I had a shipping store, like an independent, like a UPS type store. Yeah. So all my inventory was there. So I'd have my office and either a warehouse or it'd be in the back of the store. This is kind of new for me, having it at home in the last 18 months that we moved in here. So that's kind of figuring that out has been interesting because I always had help to do that before. So doing it on my own, I'm finding out that I can be a pretty messy person, which is not a good thing if you're a reseller.
Oh, so. It's okay, Bo. I was going to say my bedroom looks similar to that. I have my bedroom's like my processing room, and I have stacks of merchandise like on the right side of the room of stuff that I need to list, and I have stuff like stacked up out the door of stuff that's already listed. And then after I get it like a good pile, 100 or 200 items, then I'll take it in the backyard into the shed and kind of store it. So I have the similar system. So how many items do you currently have listed between your Amazon and eBay store, and how has your sales been this year?
Sales have been good. I would say combined, the biggest store I have on eBay is pushing 1,900 items. On Amazon, I'm pushing not many now. I've dropped to about 800 now. But I have about 5 eBay stores. What I was trying to do this year was do different niches, different things. Like I have one for like action figures. I have one for just action figure like accessories. I have another one for, it's kind of a mix of like vintage media and vintage, like different things. It's basically, to be honest, Amazon returns. Because I had so many, I want to say about 4 years ago, I was 99% Amazon. And I had about 4,000 or 5,000 items. I went up to that. But the problem is I wasn't sending in multiples of anything. It was a mix of all kinds of different things. You know, back in the day, they would let you sit with one of whatever, right? Now, I want to say 2 years ago, they started charging you for every single item, like storage on each item. So ever since the pullback, I created an eBay store for my returns specifically. So every time I get a return, I pop it in my eBay store, unless it's, you know, like specifically a new item or something like that. But usually, so that way, otherwise it would get lost in the shuffle. I don't know about you, but I used to get a lot of Amazon returns, especially this like coming up January. But not so much anymore since I only have like 700 or 800 items in my FBA and Merchant Fulfill combined.
Yeah, I'm not currently on Amazon, so I don't get a lot of Amazon returns. I mainly just sell on eBay. And I was going to say, Mo, you know, instead of you trying to run 5 or 6 eBay stores, you should try to narrow it down to 1 or 2, and then focus on maxing that one out, and then go to the next one. Like that's what I'm like. You should, because if you're jumping around from 5 to 6 different stores, you're having to do way much work as far as like bookkeeping, accounting, shipping, customer returns. You've got customers. I had a customer sent me a message today, and they were like upset because they ordered an item and it was bouncing back and forth from 2 different post office places. You know, so just messages like that. You have to go in every day and check 5 different accounts. So what I'm trying to do is. Yeah, what I'm trying to do is I've got my one main eBay store. I'm at 5,000 items. I'm going to get that one to 10,000 items because if you list items that are in these select categories, you get free lists up to 10,000 free listings in those select categories. So I can get up to 10,000 free listings and pay $21 a month. And it's cheaper for me to have 2 eBay stores and pay $21 a month than it is to pay the $60 a month for the anchor store. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so, no, it does.
But I'm saying if you're running around saying you got 5 or 6 eBay stores, that would drive me nuts. Having to answer customer questions, customer feedback. You're having to go back and deal with the customer wants to do a return. Like I'm just trying to make it easier for you, Mo. And then on top of that, when you're trying to go through your storage and you're trying to figure out this item sold in the 5th eBay store, you're running around like a dog chasing his tail trying to pull the orders. Like it doesn't make sense to me, Mo.
I agree with you there to a certain extent. The reason is also because of organization. What I'm selling in most of my stores is, other than the main store, is all very, very small stuff. And it's all in like 3 tubs, if that makes any sense. So a lot of it is the same item, basically, either multiples or the same type of item. So that's kind of why I did. But you're right, though, about those messages. The message, there's no way to get around messages. That's ridiculous. One thing I have on those stores is I have extended like handling time. They're like 3 days. My main store is just next day. And to be honest, I ship it that same day. But those other ones, I have them at 3 days. So that helps a little bit. You are right, though, in terms of messages wise. That kind of drives you a little bit crazy. But those aren't huge stores. I mean, I'm talking about 50 to 100 items max in each one. So nothing crazy. I don't have like 10,000 items out there.
Okay, I wanted to say hi to Miss Taffy is here in the house hanging out with us. We got Fundamentals of Side Hustle, and Derek's here is hanging out with us. So
Derek.
if you guys have questions for Mo, drop it into the chat and we'll go ahead and get to it. So Mo, give me some tips or some advice, because you said you've been a reseller since 1998, right? Back in the day.
Yeah.
Now, if someone was to become a full-time reseller, do you have any tips or tricks or any type of advice or wisdom that you can impart on to maybe other resellers? Go ahead,
Sure.
Mo. I'm going to put you on full screen. Go ahead.
Sure. The first thing I would say is know your area, know your city, your county, whatever. There's all kinds of things that I could do in the Bay Area that I can't do here necessarily, or vice versa. So know where you live. And that's how, because people always ask me, where do you get your inventory? What do you want to, I want to sell on eBay, but I don't know what to sell. So the first thing I'd say is look at your house. Second thing I'd say is know in your area. What part of, I'm in Sacramento. I'm not too far from Derek. And once you know what you can get in your area for cheap and in abundance, like you can get a lot of it fast, go with that first. So like if you get, a bunch of, I don't know, if you're buying Army base and you get like a bunch of Army surplus stuff, then, take advantage of that, because not everyone in the country is buying Army base. Or if you're, near a golf range, you can get golf clubs or whatever, golf equipment. Take advantage of that. I think people kind of think that they go online and they see these people selling like millions of dollars and they assume that they have to do the same things, sell the same things the same way that those people do. I would say don't. Look in your area. So my number one tip is know your area, especially to be honest, I've done a bad job in the last 18 months of learning about the Sacramento area. I kind of reverted back to the Bay Area a lot. I drive down to like the San Francisco, San Jose area, and I source there a lot when I should be sourcing up here. I should be finding out about auctions up here because I see Derek all the time going around there. So he's got his places set. So I need to set up my places. There's all kinds of places up here I should be sourcing from. So that would be my number one thing. Know your area and figure it out and take advantage of the things that other people can't take advantage of because they don't live where you live. They can't get what you get. So that would be the first thing I would say.
Well, you got 2 or 3 more off the top of your head you can give us, like maybe
Sure.
Sourcing, shipping, handling customer returns. I know you got to have some more than that you can give us. We got people in the chat come here to see you, Mo. You got to give us some more info.
Okay. So if you're talking about, I deal a lot with eBay. My eBay feedback's pretty good. I always have 100%, and I don't have an issue as much with dealing with returns. It's because I stay on it right away. A lot of people will say, you know what, I've got negative this, negative that. It's because of 2 things. One, you're not shipping out on time. You're not printing out that label as fast as you can, and you're not sending it out, and you're not following up with people. Most of the time when people ask you a lot of questions, it will be because you haven't given them something in the listing that they needed, like a shirt measurement or something like that. So if you get back to people on time and you respond to them, the rudest person will at least shut up, and they'll at least, maybe that sounds bad, but they'll at least stop like badgering you about information. Now, one thing I would say is if somebody's asking you 1,000 questions about a cheap item before they've even bought it, I would be hesitant to take an offer from them. Maybe that's bad to say, but I usually kind of steer away from people who ask too many questions before purchasing, because they could be setting you up for a return, which has happened to me a couple of times. They'll ask you, oh, what's wrong with this? Oh, I can't tell from the picture if it looks like it. What color is it? What is this? What is that? And if it's like 15 questions for a $15 item, that's a prime person that's going to return something. So I would stay with kind of general answers, like answering like, what color is it? Like, is this red, or is it maroon, or is it brown? I mean they could easily return something like that. Item like INADs, items not as described. That can be like the vein of your eBay account. So that kind of stuff, just kind of responding right, keep giving a general answer to something, but being answering the question at the same time. That can save negative feedback. That's right. And eBay likes that if you're answering.
All right, Mo. I'm gonna catch the people in the chat. We got Rise and Grind Picker here. He says, "Hey, eBay
Hey,
addict."
Shane, what's going on,
He
man?
says, "Mo is the man." We got my buddy Derek here. Fundamentals of Side Hustling. He just dropped a $2.99 super sticker. So I appreciate you, Derek, for coming through, and I appreciate your super sticker. If you guys didn't get a chance, he's got a show on Wednesday that's going to be coming out, I think, tonight around 9 o'clock Eastern or something.
9 Eastern,
so you guys should go by and check out his show. I usually come by and hang out with him and Regina if you guys get a chance. We got Blood, Sweat, and Cell here. Rise and Grind Picker is here, and I think that's everybody in the chat. I don't think I miss anybody. We got Kentucky Fan 42. So actually, you got your podcast. I'm actually working with Shane. We're working on starting a podcast. Nice. Me and Rise and Grind Picker sometime in January. So I've actually been doing my research, trying to figure out if I need to get a microphone or how to go about getting it started. But me and Shane are going to be working on one coming sometime soon in 2021. So we're excited about that. And if you guys didn't get a chance to check out Derek's channel, Fundamentals of Side Hustling, you should check out his channel. He has a lot of interesting information. I was checked out his Hot 5 yesterday. So Mo, tell me a little bit about your podcast, your YouTube channel, reselling. Tell us, give us the update. Tell us everything that's been going on with you, man.
Sure. So podcast I started, I want to say 3 years ago. It's been a while, and I took a break when we moved up here. I took a break probably for about a year. So it was me and my buddy Russ. Had Shane on there years ago. He came on the YouTube channel, I want to say 2017, something like that. So Shane's a real OG. I'm not. And then so the podcast, we used to do a lot of interviews, and we kind of changed. The person I was doing it with, Russ, he's kind of doing his own thing right now. He's homesteading right now. I don't know if you know Russ. He's basically building his own home from the ground up. He's in Missouri, and he's like taking pictures of it and videos of it. It's pretty epic, actually. So he's moved around a lot. Really, really cool person. Super experienced reseller, but he just wasn't reselling right now. So that's why we're not doing the podcast together anymore. But hopefully, he said in the future, if he gets back into reselling, he will. So that's kind of where the YouTube channel came from. We started offline 100%. We didn't do any videos at all. And then we said, you know what, let's see if we can open up, because it's this huge reselling community. And we just kind of started doing interviewing a few people. Like I said, we interviewed Shane back in the day. And then a few other people, like I recently interviewed with Derek. And we kind of evolved from there. I also do kind of reselling, what I kind of call reselling light. We do reselling, the stuff that touches on reselling, but it's not your regular hauls and your regular only reselling chat. Like we do like kind of pop culture related type stuff. I do a podcast on Tuesdays with Paul Perez. He has his own podcast as well called the Improve and Have Fun podcast. You should check that out if you can. He's been podcasting for like 6 years. So what I do with him is we do kind of pop culture related that kind of lightly touches on reselling, but not, because I'm trying to do things that are a little bit different than the average reselling channel, because reselling is great, but I think there's a lot of other things you can talk about other than reselling that kind of touch on reselling at the same time. Like we did some movie reviews, we did some year-end reviews recently. So that kind of thing. So that's every Tuesday we do that. And every morning time, I usually have my buddy Leroy, sometimes Louie, Lone Star Picker, and yeah, Leroy's Blood, Sweat, and Cell. In the mornings, about 4 days a week, we do a live reselling, live hangout. And we're all just listing, chatting it up, just whatever, just having a good time. I do that at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, as long as I get up on time. And like this morning, I think I got up there like 6:20 or something like that. But yeah, we just do that. And yeah, that's about it. If you guys want to check those out, you can.
Yeah, for sure. I have your Instagram and YouTube linked down below in the description if you guys want to go check out Mo's channel. I wanted to say hi to some people in the chat. We got Living a Blessed Life and Improving Daily is here. Rise and Grind Picker is here. He said this is going to be epic. He's talking about our podcast we're working on. We have the Cap guy here in the house hanging out with us. And we got Galaxy CD Rocks and Flips says, "What's happening, people? Hey, I think I saw your podcast that you did recently, your YouTube channel, Galaxy Rocks. I saw you with Derek and Fundamentals of Side Hustling. Thanks for coming by. We got Aaron here in the house hanging out with us, and I think that's everybody. I don't think I missed anybody. We got Fundamentals of Side Hustling here, Derek. So tell me, Mo, what are some of your plans that you have coming up next year for 2021? Do you have anything else, any tricks up your sleeve, anything that you can kind of tell us that we should be looking forward to 2021 with both your YouTube channel, your podcast, your reselling? Give us the info, what we're going to expect to hear from you for 2021. Go ahead.
Okay. With the YouTube channel, we're kind of going to expand a little bit more, and it's, YouTube/podcast. We're going to kind of super niche it out. And what I mean by that is we're going to kind of deep dive into specific subjects. I've done a lot of kind of general videos, a lot of general informational podcasts, but we're going to pick super specific subjects. So it might not be for everybody. It might be, if you're into that, like instead of talking about a specific, type of sneaker, we're going to break it down by not just the brand, but the style within the brand. And we're going to kind of go, I'm going to see if I can possibly interview people, but a lot of it will be pre-recorded stuff. It won't necessarily be on the pop culture side. Also, we're going to deep dive. The plan is for myself and Paul, we're going to be kind of deep diving on pop cultural subjects that are associated with reselling, and kind of break down, is a specific subject worth reselling? That's kind of going to be the gist of it. So that's what we're going to be doing social media side. On my reselling front, I'm actually going to be expanding. I'm going to get back more into cross-listing. I kind of got away from that this year, only because merchant fulfilling on Amazon was just super busy for me. Between that and eBay, it was busy. But now I'm noticing that it's kind of slowed down a little bit, but especially since Christmas passing. So I'm going to be expanding more into cross-listing. That's what the main thing for me. I have the specific niches that I sell in already. Mainly, like I said, used clothing, video games, and toys, like vintage toys. So I'm going to go back into bulk listing, bulk buying. And that's the main thing for me. I need to just ramp up numbers. There isn't anything fancy about it. I just need to ramp up the numbers that I'm doing, get more consistent about it, and hopefully by the end of the year, hire some people. And then, if I have my processes in place, and then, all this craziness is ended, so, people can actually go out and about, that would be helpful too, because right now it's kind of difficult, because especially in California, you can't really, it's hard to hire someone. It's hard to get a warehouse space or anything like that. But I'm envisioning getting some kind of space outside of the house too. That would be good. And that way, it's all this clutter is outside of my house. I'm not making a big mess in here anymore.
So Mo, let me ask you. You said something about you were interested in possibly hiring some people to work with you in your reselling thing. What exactly would they be doing? Would they be listing? Would you have like an eBay lister? Would you have someone that handles shipping? Like what would these people do? And are they going to be working like in your garage? Or are you going to get like a little warehouse? Like what are you thinking about doing, Mo?
Sure. It's going to basically be like my shipping store without the shipping part of it. I ran this for years. It's not rocket science. Basically, I'm going to have multiple, if possible, if we get numbers up there, I'm going to have a ship station. So one person would just be shipping only. And I would have a listing person, and that listing person will either do pictures and listing or just listing. So ideally, it'd be 3 people, 1 pictures, 1 listing, 1 shipping, or just kind of a photo/listing, and then a shipping person. Shipping separately only because that's kind of, I think, completely separate from everything else. And it's easier to tell people to stick to one task. I did, to be honest, when I had my shipping store, I had somebody that would do everything. They would take pictures, they would list, they would do it all. And then actually I was able to get that person's son actually came in, and they were actually much better than me on photography too. So what I did was that's where I split it up. I had a dedicated photo person and a dedicated lister/shipper. So I found that if you break it up, make it simple, if I have a warehouse where they can come when I'm not there, that's another thing. That would be good. Ideally, I want to get out of the house. That would be best. I just can't do that right now with the situation we're in. So
okay, well, we got a question. Miss Taffy says, "What cross-listing application do you use when listing?" She wants to know, do you have a certain platform? Is there an app? What do you do as far as cross-posting?
I mean, I dabble. I don't really do the apps. For List Perfectly is the one I'm looking at right now. I haven't used it yet. I think I used the free trial sparingly, maybe 6 months ago, but I'm looking at List Perfectly right now. What I'm looking to cross list right now are two things: toys and used clothing. Most likely, mainly used clothing, and most likely Poshmark to eBay, eBay to Poshmark, and something like that. And then I'm going to include Mercari in the mix. So my 3 goals, other than Amazon, I'm going to keep completely separate. I'm not going to cross list anything. Everything on Amazon is going to be brand new items, which is what I'm doing right now. And that's separate, but cross listing would be List Perfectly is the goal to use.
Okay, Mo, let me ask you a question. Do you do any retail arbitrage? Do you go to Walmart or Target clearance? Do you do any retail arbitrage? Could you give us any tips or tricks or pointers when we're out doing some like retail arbitrage?
Sure. I don't do as much retail arbitrage. I mean, I do thrift, stuff like that. Most of what I pick up in bulk is online. Actually, I do mostly OA. I look for larger lots. So what I do is I look for someone who has a decent sized store and they have a decent amount of stuff I'm looking for. And if they have one item for sale, I'll send them a message and I'll say, you know what? How about what would you take for all of it? What would you take if I took this listing, and I'll list all the listings that are applicable to me. So if I can, that's mainly most of my times because of COVID mainly. I don't really do much retail arbitrage at all. Most of what I do is OA. So I do that on eBay, Mercari. I've done a little bit on Facebook Marketplace. I've picked up a lot of lots on Facebook Marketplace, naturally. A little bit, not so much on OfferUp, but like I said, I'm just looking to pick up big lots. I don't want to go to 50 different places. I want to go to one place, get more than 100 items, 200, 300, 500, if possible. Usually that's used clothing. It's tough to do that with vintage toys. Usually it's a lot less. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. Instead of going to 20 different retail stores looking for a handful of items at Walmart clearance, if you can just get 200, 300, 400 items sent to you in bulk at once, that definitely cuts out a lot of your sourcing time. Cali Reseller Luis is in the chat. He has a question for you. He wants to know, will you get into buying wholesale pallets to get more inventory?
If I had a warehouse. I know Cali Reseller Luis is in the pallets, so he knows more than me about this. I talked to him a little bit about it. But yes, if I had the space to bring them in, I would, because I never knew how much space I had until I didn't have it. Even if you have like a 1,000 square foot place, if you like a roll up door, something where you can use even a pallet jack, that's so much different than your own garage. I mean, a lot of people, do everything in the garage. They'll pallet crate from their garage. I've never done that. I always had my own places in the past. So the answer, yeah, I definitely want to do that, but I would need my own place to do that. The garage I have wouldn't really work for pallets.
So Mo, give us some tips. If somebody needs to help boost their sales on eBay, do you have 2 or 3 tips that would help somebody generate more sales on eBay if their sales have maybe flatlined or declined a little bit? Go ahead, Mo.
I say number 1, look at what you're selling. How long has it been listed for? What's the listing like? What are the pictures like? Can you see it? I mean, they always talk about white background on Google. I'm a proponent of that. I think the main thing when they talk about that is they're talking about a clean picture. So are your pictures clear? Is your title clear? Is your description clear? Have you filled in all the things that eBay's been asking us for the last year, the item specifics? And also, is your item in demand? I fell in that a lot of times. I would buy stuff dirt cheap and I'd expect it to sell, and there's no demand for it. Do a little quick search. Maybe your item was in demand 6 months ago or a year ago, and now if the market's flooded, maybe you need to switch up what you're selling. There's a million things you could do with just, let's just say you have 100 listings, none of them are selling. Most likely there's something wrong with the listing, or it's overpriced, or it's just not something in demand. There's too many of them out there. So, and then another thing I would say is a lot of people say, well, I don't have the money for inventory. I would say go through your current listings and update them all. If you don't have the money to buy something right now, go through what you have, redo all your listings, switch the pictures around, reorder them, change the titles, look at what's selling. Take a look at that same item that you have listed and see who sold it recently, why they sold it. Is their title better than yours? Is, you know, the picture better than yours, the description better? Are you missing something? That kind of stuff. So there's a lot you can do without spending money to hopefully, you know, update your. Another thing is you can pull down listings. You know, you can pull it down and put it back up again, because eBay now, you know, everything is good till canceled. So back in the day, everyone would, you pull it down and you redo, you have a 30-day listing or whatever. Now it's good till canceled whenever. I would pull down listings that are not, you know, not performing at all, and then put them back up. I've done that a bunch of times where I pulled it down and that day I get an offer for it, and I didn't really change much at all. So just tweak the algorithm. I always tell people, just tweak it. Tweak the algorithm any way you know how. And then you'll see sales. You have to. I mean, there's no way you can, I forget who I was listening to. They said that there's no way you can continue to list and not see at least some sales. As long as your items are relatively in demand and you've got them priced correctly and people understand what it is. One of those three things is off, then you're not selling your stuff.
Yeah, you can also go back and look at the what solds, and it'll show you in the past 90 days what particular item is selling, how much it's selling for. Because I think sometimes people grab an item, they scan a barcode or they look it up, and they just see what the item's listed for, but they don't go back and look at the eBay solds to see, like, because I find sometimes I'll be at a thrift store, I'll be somewhere and I'll see this item, like, oh, this item here, I buy it for $1 and sell it for 20, 25 bucks on eBay. Then I'll look up the solds and say, okay, has any of these sold in the past 90 days? Am I going to grab it and it's going to sit for 6 months or a year? Or am I going to grab it and list it and it's going to sell within 2-3 weeks or a month? You can look at the sales velocity of the item. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, well, this has no sales in the past 90 days. It's some stuffed animal or some item that nobody wants. Do I want to have money tied up in this item for 6 months or a year waiting for this one item to sell? And if you don't, put it back on the shelf. You know, I wouldn't just grab an item just because you think it's a good deal and you're like, oh, I can buy this item for $1 and sell it for 15. Yeah, you might, but how long is it going to take for it to sell for 15? It might take up space because you only have a limited amount of space. It might take up space for 6 months waiting for it to sell to get your $15 sell. So that's something to look into as well. So Mo, what is your goal as far as like your listing goals and sales goals you have next year for 2021? Do you have a certain number of threshold of items that you want to get listed, or what is some of your more information, some more of your goals that you have next year for 2021?
Sure. With eBay specifically, with my account, I have one. Like I said, I have one account that's around. I'm bouncing between 1850 and 1950 items. I want to get that up to an anchor store regular, like when it's worth it to be an anchor store. 3,500, I think about 3,500 items consistently in there, not 3,500 duds, which I'm way away from right now. So my initial goal is to get up to an anchor store to make it worthwhile. And to make, you know, my sales have to be good enough for that, because an anchor store, you go up for what? I think the premier store, whatever they call it now, is what, $60 a month? And I think the anchor store is probably like, I don't know, 300, 250, something like that. So I want to make it worth, I want to be selling enough to where that's a necessary thing for me. So my main thing is I need to list. So that's goal number one. And then goal number two is to make enough to where it's worthwhile to get a warehouse. And then after that, it will be to get an employee. So everything I do is based on how much is coming in and if it's worthwhile to get it. Like, people always talk about getting warehouses, and it scares me because I've got warehouses. I've had every kind of different type of building. I've had the office space. I've had the warehouse. I've had the office / warehouse. And all of that money, you're gonna have to pay out of pocket for that, whatever it is, even if it's $100 a month. That $100 a month has to come from somewhere. And then on top of that, if you're talking about employees, that's more money. So I commend anyone that can do this from their house and just, make the money they need to make. There isn't, like I said, it scares me when people start with, I want to get a warehouse, I want to get an employee. That's the goal, but it's only after you make X amount of money. Like I tell this story all the time. When I started the shipping, I had a shipping store, the franchise. And on day one, they tell you, I think they said the number was, and this is 2004, 5. They said, if you're not making 250 grand a month, I'm sorry, not a month, 250 grand a year minimum, don't think about hiring an employee at all. You are by yourself. Don't do it. We won't, you can do it if you want. You're a business owner. But generally, that's the number they said. And that was, 15 years ago. So that number is probably a lot higher now. So people that I don't like to talk about numbers too much. I mean, everyone, I need to see the bottom line to even understand a number. If I tell you a number, you might not, I could be lying to you. I could say I made $1 million this year, and I could have lost $1 million too. You don't know that. So what I always tell people is do what you can and do it based on the numbers. Like if you're going to get a warehouse, do it when the warehouse is a necessity, not something you want. So that's kind of my goal moving forward, is to do everything based on the numbers 100%. I don't want to be the guy that's in trouble, not being able to pay X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I definitely can relate. I do it all by myself. I have a shed in the backyard, and I have a 5-bay garage, and I definitely can understand, like, not wanting to have all your stuff in your house, but at the same time, you don't want to create an extra expense and say, now I have a new warehouse, now I have extra overhead employees, because not only are you paying for the actual warehouse, but you have to think you're paying for the water, you're paying for the electric, you're paying for the internet connection, you're having to pay for heating and cooling of another building. To me, I'm just like, you know what, I'm totally cool with working out of my shed, and I've got a big 5-bay garage into my backyard. I could store plenty of merchandise, and until you grow and scale to a certain point, you don't really need to hire employees or get a big warehouse. I think you just kind of start small and gradually, each and every 6 months, every year, just gradually improve on what you're doing, and you'll get there. I wanted to say hi to Girl Hustle is here in the chat hanging out with us. So I got a question for you, Mo. I don't have a lot of guests on that do a lot of online arbitrage or sourcing online. Can you give us some tips or tricks as far as buying merchandise online and having it shipped to your house, or as far as maybe buying merchandise in bulk? Let's say I want to buy 300, 400, 500 items at one time. Like, for example, I bought this thing on eBay the other day, and I bought 400 CDs for $180. So it broke down to 45 cents a piece. They're all brand new in the shrink wrap. So look, bulk orders like that you can buy, snap your fingers, have it shipped to your door, and you're not driving around all over the city looking for, 4, 5, 10 items at a time. Can you give us any tips or tricks as far as if I'm doing some online arbitrage? Go ahead, Mo.
Sure. One thing I would say, thankfully before I always had a store, so I always had liftgate access, or I had a neighbor that had liftgate access. If you're buying bulk pallets, be careful about the website, whatever you're using. Is there a liftgate fee if you're getting it shipped to your house? Are there, sometimes they call them different things, but are there additional fees on the shipping based on where you live, on your city, on your state, because you're residential, like a residential fee, residential liftgate fee, that kind of thing? That would be number one if you're getting bulk. I've personally never had anything shipped to my house that was on a pallet or a crate. I always had that shipped either to a friend's store, or when I had my own, I would have it shipped there. So that's number one. And also, if you're buying, like when I buy stuff online, eBay wise, I always look for mistakes. I have a set list of terms based on, for example, if I'm looking for G.I. Joe, a lot of times people will mistype, and you probably heard this a lot already. They'll misrepresent an item. They won't know what it is. So I have a list of items based on the niches, the genres that I'm looking up. And I always go through those. I'll go through and I have alerts set up too on eBay for certain items. So the second it pops up, I'll look at it, and then Misspellings are a great source of items. As bad as that sounds, a lot of people don't know what they have, and if they, mistype a title, they misspell it, that kind of thing, you can, clean up, because people aren't looking for that. They're looking for the perfectly spelled word in the title. So that's another thing that I would think of. And then also, when you're looking at online arbitrage, if you're doing it from eBay, one thing I got burned on was, people kind of misrepresenting what's actually in the lot. Like they'll say, this is in it, but this is not, or something like that. So be careful about what you're actually buying. Make sure you take a look at all the pictures. If there's only one picture of an item, send them an email and say, you know what, I can see the top of this box. What else is in there? Can you give me an idea? What am I buying here? Do you have more of it? And if you sound like you're a legit person, you're looking to spend, you're not trying to waste their time, and you're possibly going to spend more money, and you're going to make it easier. Like, you can buy 5 things, 10 things, 100 things, and they can send all of that to you and make in one sale. You sound like you're a better buyer for them. They want to sell to you. If you're the guy that sends a million questions about the $10 one singular item, you're the guy that I'm avoiding. And if I was a seller, I would avoid me then, if I'm asking those stupid questions. So the seller, it was my long-winded way of saying it, to sell to you. Make yourself look like a better buyer, and then hopefully you can get more stuff out of it at a better price.
All right, Mo. So give me some tips or tricks. If someone wants to grow their eBay business, they want to grow their listings, they want to grow their sales. Let's say they're a small or part-time reseller. Maybe they're doing $1,000, $2,000 a month. They want to get to the point where they're making $8,000 to $10,000 a month in sales. Or maybe they're saying, hey, I've got 2,000 items listed and I want to grow to 5,000 or 10,000 item store. Do you have any other tips or tricks that you can tell us, or any other advice to help people grow their eBay business? Because it's sometimes you talk to somebody and it's like, well, I've been an eBay reseller for 10 years. And I'm like, okay, well, have you grown over those 10 or 20 years? Has your business grown, or have you just flatlined? Because you got to be expanding and growing, but you don't want to put too much, you don't want to fill your plate up too much and you can't handle it. So what type of advice would you give to somebody if they're like, hey, I want to grow, I want to expand, I don't want to be that guy that said, yeah, I've been on eBay for 20 years and my sales are the same as they were 20 years ago. Like, what can we do to grow our business, Mo? Go ahead.
Gotcha. Well, if your sales are the same as they've been 20 years ago, then whatever you're doing isn't up to date. That's number one. So I'd take a look at what you're selling first. The next thing I'd say is, how many listings are you putting up a day? Are you increasing the amount of listings you're doing? I don't know if you're doing 20 listings, 50 listings, whatever you're doing, that's not enough. And if you are doing a crazy amount of listings, then you need to change what you're selling, or tweak what you're selling. Because however you're listing, however you're taking the pictures, whatever stuff you're selling it's just sitting. To be honest, if you have 10 years of non-increasing sales, of non-moving items, you need to get rid of all those. I would have a giant sale. I'd have like an auction, have crazy low prices, and just get rid of whatever that is. Because whatever it is not in demand at all, or you're not listing it properly. So number one, I'd have some kind of sale. Have a sale. Have a fire sale. I know people all the time, like, they have a set sale every 30 to 90 days for stuff that sits, because they need money, they need capital to buy new stuff. And if it's not sitting, like, I know a lot of people, they have a set 30, 60, or 90 days. I don't have that because my stuff is a lot of vintage, so it's a little bit longer. But if you are selling used clothing, which I sell a lot of, and it is not moving, slash the price, get rid of it, and get something else. And then if you're picking up the wrong type, I'm going to talk about used clothing because I do a lot of it. You get sometimes people kind of fall in love with their inventory. It's a big waste of time. You're not a storage unit, you're a seller. Like Amazon says, they're not in the game of storage. That's not their thing. They want stuff to move. So you need to look at your inventory, move it. So either with a sale, either with changing the listings. I would start with the sale. Start with the sale, get rid of it all. Even if you you get rid of it in 10 cents on the dollar. Once you start getting those sales, then that's going to lead to more sales for newer stuff. You take that money, maybe it's only, you get 10 cents on the dollar for whatever your stuff. You can go and get new items and sell those. That's what I would recommend. Movement, constant tweaking and movement.
Okay, Mo, I didn't tell you this before the show, but do you have some advice for me? Because I'm looking at starting a podcast next year, 2021. I have zero knowledge, zero experience. I was up last night Googling it. Yes. Do you have any experience or any recommendations that you could give me, any advice to give me if I'm interested in starting this podcast from zero? Since I already got you on the channel, go ahead, give me some pointers, give me some advice. Go ahead, Mo. Well,
just from watching your YouTube channel, I can tell you're consistent. That's what I like about your channel. You constantly are reaching out to new people, and you don't take like weeks off. I've never seen you with like 2 or 3 days when you don't have content. That's number one. With podcasting, it's similar to YouTube in the sense that everything is askew. You want to put up as much content as possible. Number one, on day one, don't put out, don't have one podcast ready. Have 5 or 10. Like they say, the best strategy for starting a podcast is to have 5 ready to go. Advertise that. Just say, I'm going to start on January 1st or whatever date you have. And on January 1st, put out one, then on the 2nd, on the 3rd, on the 4th, on the 5th. Because people, and actually even better than that is if you can put them all out on the first day. Put out 5 episodes on the first day. Because people like to binge. But if you put out those 5 episodes, on the second day, have number 6 ready. Have number 7 ready. Have number 8 ready. People like to binge, especially on podcasts. They like to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. They want to have you in the background and never have to switch to somebody else. That would be the goal. That would probably be the biggest advice I can say. If you could be the end all be all for everyone's podcasting needs, you've made it, because it's tough. Podcasting is tougher to get your name out there because they can't see you. But if you are never off their radio, if you're never off their computer, then you're the only one that they have, and they will not stop listening. People kind of are diehard about podcasts. Like you always people talk about like Joe Rogan, like even Gary Vee, like people like that. It's because he never stops putting out content. And I like long form. I've kind of got away from it a little bit. So by long form, I mean, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. If you can put together, like when you first start, have like 10 long form podcasts, I would do that. But at the same time, it kind of depends on what you're doing. I don't know if you're going to do interviews. I don't know if you're going to do how-tos. I don't know what you're going to do. If it's you by yourself, that's going to be tough. But you said it's you and Shane. I know Shane's got a ton of info, and he can talk well, and you can talk well. If you guys can riff off each other for longer form, and I know it's going to be tough at the beginning, but I don't think you'd have a problem with it. Put out a lot of content at the beginning. So it's not like you're a newbie and people have to wait. People don't have any patience anymore. That'd be number one. The second thing I would say, is that you want to, from day one, try and get into every single podcasting thing. Like go up, reach out to Spotify. There's like 20 of them. Not just Apple and Google. Reach out to like 20 or 30 of them. Be everywhere. And if you can do that, you'll be golden, man.
Yeah, well, I read somewhere it said that most people don't make it past episode 7. They just quit and give up before they get any traction. Mm-hmm. But it's the same way with YouTube. It's the same way on eBay. You just got to keep putting out content. You got to keep listing items, even if you don't feel like it, because that's how you're going to get traction, is by pushing the boulder. You have to keep moving. You have to get traction. You can't just be complacent. You can't, you have to be consistent at it. Well, anyways, Mo, hey, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me today. Tell everybody in the chat where they can find you out on Instagram and YouTube. Tell them where they can come check you out at.
All right. Check us out. The Reseller Niche podcast is on YouTube. We're on anywhere that you can, download a podcast. On Instagram, I'm reseller_niche. And that's basically all I advertise. I'm on Twitter. It's Reseller Niche and other places. But main things would be podcast and YouTube. You can check us out there. And like I said, we're in the morning times. We do a live reseller, live working hangout, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We do it Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And on Tuesdays, I partner up with my buddy Paul Perez of the Improve and Have Fun podcast, and we do a kind of off-the-wall reselling light, pop culture reselling type thing. That's about an hour long. But I just want to say thank you for having me on, and I really appreciate it. And send me your link when you first start up. I'll shout you out on our podcast. Please do that, because Shane's always been a friend of the channel, so I really appreciate you having me on here.
Oh, for sure, man. For sure, Mo. Hopefully we'll get you back on sometime after the New Year's. And so if I don't get to see you between now and the New Year's, man, I hope you and your family have a great New Year's. I wanted to say hi to Yard Sales and Dreams. Stop by. We got a Lone Star Picker just came by. Hey, what's up, Lone Star Picker? We got Galaxy Rocks and Flips. He says, if you get 28 listens to your podcast episode in the first 7 days, he says that puts you in the top half of all podcasts out there. So yeah, guys, the thing is, you just have to get, I feel like podcast is going to be the same thing as YouTube or same thing with eBay. You just got to be consistent at it. Yeah, there's people that
one word. That's it.
Right. There's some people that say, "Oh, I want to make this much money in sales, or I want to do this or that." Then they don't move forward. They don't move forward. So, hey guys, thanks everybody in the chat for coming by, and thanks Mo for taking time out of your day to hang out with me, man. And you have a great New Year's.
You too, man. Thanks so much, man.
Yep, bye. I got Mo's stuff linked in the description if you want to check out his YouTube channel and Instagram. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.